a lot of people had questions at the end of the first movie. I remember people asking me all the time, did any of it happen? Was it all just a fantasy? All this did happen. And here he is paying the price for it. You know, we all walk around wearing masks in life. And what happens when you take that mask off and be your true self?
That's really interesting as a filmmaker. I always appreciated that he celebrated Arthur in the first film, and I think in the second film, he makes a movie that's as dangerous as the circumstances.
Okay, let's get going on this, guys. She's on a ramp.
So you're going up to the school?
I let you out of my sight for 5 hours.
Scott and I, as writers, we don't really know if the Joaquin you wrote is going to be the same Joaquin that ends up in the movie. So if he's willing to do 3 versions or play this scene that way and then try it totally different, it's only helpful to the editing, right?
Really, the first version, he always kind of says, I want you to put forth your version of a scene. And my goal is to always surprise him a little bit with more than what he thought he shot.
A lot of the movie is really about that question of where does Arthur stop and Joker become?
There's these rare moments where Arthur sort of sees himself in 3D and realizes what's happened to his life, what's happened to him. It's a moment of introspection in which normally is private, but he has to do that in this very public space. Seeing Sophie speak about him the way she does confronts his own delusion, I think.
All right, here we go, and roll it.
You believed he was dangerous?
His mother told me that he'd had problems his whole life, but that he wouldn't hurt a fly.
You're going off of this blueprint, but things also change. From a page to real life is a huge jump, and you discover so much along the way and what actually works and what doesn't work.
I think when people come to this set, I'm always surprised that they're surprised at how kind of loosey-goose it feels. We always have a plan, of course, but we just like the ability to veer from that whenever possible, and I think it helps actors.
It doesn't mean that you don't have an incredible script and you don't have an incredible plan. It just means that you now have human beings instead of pages of text.
Joaquin and Todd talk constantly, and in prep, they talked constantly. We'd be going down a path and we'd be like, okay, this is great for the schedule. And then all of a sudden we would take a left turn, and it came out of one of these meetings between those two guys.
Joaquin, will decide, I want to try it a different way. We were very fortunate to have a lot of prep weeks on this so that we were super buttoned up.
I don't want to know what Joaquin's going to do. I don't want to see a rehearsal. Actually, I don't want any information. I actually want to just be really present when the scene begins, watching an actor be prepared for anything.
That courtroom was actually like 4 different sets. It's the explosion, it's a courtroom, it's a fantasy sequence.
Originally, we had a different lighting kind of setup. And I think it was Joaquin who actually said, wouldn't it be great if we did this? And it's like, yeah, that would be great. And we made some changes to our lighting cues, and that was super fun.
We kept everything very loose because this was a big artistic playground, and ultimately the edit would decide the final film, but on set you don't have to make decisions that are set in stone. The chaos of the process was something that gave a lot of life to this couple.
Todd thinks very quick, which is great, so it allows you to really come at a scene at a different way each take if you want.
Yeah, we'll start again. Jack? You want to just start from the beginning and fast forward? Oh.
Downstage, yeah.
And action.
Anytime you run into a problem, he just very quickly comes up with a line that just solves the problem.
It was important to convey that Lee was in love with Joker. Lee really was not in love with Arthur Fleck. Arthur slowly realizes, oh, she's in love with this character that I created, this other part of me. So he starts leaning into that as much as he can.
The state calls Gary Puddles.
Bailiff, please escort Mr. Puddles to the stand.
Is that your real last name? That sounds like a joke.
It's not.
You expect us to believe that your last name is Puddles. What do you take us for, sir? Fools?
Mr. Fleck, where are you going with this?
Arthur's direct of Gary Puddles is so fucking genius.
He gets up and decides to do it in an old-style Southern accent.
You expect us to believe that your last name is Puddles. P-U-D-D-E-L-S. What do you take us for, sir? Fools?
We were only meant to get up to sort of my entrance and then like a little bit. But then I think Joaquin just wanted to get a feel for it and like rehearse it.
Please raise your right hand.
You expect us to believe your last name is Puddles?
And then all of a sudden we were just doing the whole thing.
Your last name is Puddles? Your last name is Puddles.
There was me thinking, oh yeah, I've got, I ease my way into this, and all of a sudden we're like going heavy.
You were the only one at work who never made fun of me. You were the only one who was nice to me.
I said no more questions, Your Honor.
Is that right? Hold on. What'd you say?
A little bit, you go more to the right. Well, show me that right point. How about that?
It was a really great first day doing that.
No, the defense rests as well, Your Honor.
He comes out with these lines on some takes, and I'm just like dying inside to laugh, but like I'm so in the moment, it's like you have to wait till afterwards, and I'm like, what did he just say in that take? And then we all go back and check. He says the funniest things, but I don't know how the hell Todd is gonna choose between all these like magical, funny moments that he creates.
It's always building context for Arthur. So it's like you find a scene that works and then you start building the context around that for every other scene. And so that helps you make those choices when you have many choices that are all good and valid. So we still go back months later and say, let's look at this line. Let's see if we can find something that it's like maybe there's something better here.
Rolling. Larry, you ready?
Well, just a sec. There's a...
I'll be ready in 1 second.
Set. Here we go. Action.
Mr. Fleck, will you please rise? Face the jury. As a reminder, regardless of the verdict, I will not tolerate any outbursts of any kind. Foreperson, you may begin.
This movie, and certainly the last movie, there weren't a lot of special effects or stunts, but I think, when we do one, it needs to be right.
We actually did ratchet Joaquin Phoenix across the room to the ground to a set of pads. It's all in one shot.
The biggest trick was to make sure that we don't telegraph it in any way, that it feels like it's something that immediately interrupts the scene, that it's not like, oh, something's going to happen.
Crew guys come up to me saying on this film, I've never worked on a movie like this, and these challenges are different than I've ever done, and thank you for that. It's just exciting to come here. And, I think when everybody has that feeling of, okay, we're doing something cool, and listen, nobody knows how things turn out, nobody knows how people are going to respond to it, but we're all there for the right reason, so it felt good.